Alright. We've all heard of climate change at least once in our lives, right? We've all heard it being discussed at different events throughout high school or being talked about in the news. But would you believe me that there's still a portion of the American population that refuses to believe that climate change is a threat or that it's even real at all? People like this will make uneducated claims like, well, it's cold outside right now, or it snowed last week, to try and justify their thinking. However, the truth of the matter is they don't want to accept the inevitable. Throughout the rest of our lives, we'll begin to see the effects of climate change and how it will affect us daily, and it's going to take all of us working together in order to fix this. However, it's going to take all of us accepting the facts in order to make this change. So today, we're going to discuss the three major factors proving the existence of climate change, such as record high temperatures like we've never seen in the history of the planet, a major change in sea levels and sea temperatures, and finally, a major change in the inner workings of the phenology of our ecosystems. But before we begin, I feel it's important to discuss a couple definitions so we truly understand what is being discussed today. Before we begin, I feel it's important to discuss the difference between climate and weather's definitions. Weather and climate's definitions often get mixed up in today's media, making it difficult to understand what is going on with our planet right now. According to NASA, weather involves atmospheric conditions occurring at a specific place at a specific time. The events of weather happen in real time, meaning we can see them as they are happening. Examples of weather include raining, snowing, and average daily temperatures. However, according to NASA, climate is the long-term average of weather patterns over a local, regional, and even global basis. Climate is not something that can be measured in real time and requires data from the past to truly understand, and climate is not something we can see changing daily. So this leaves us with the question, what really is climate change? Climate change is the changing of the planet's overall climate over a long period of time. Usually, climate change is very extensive and takes many years. However, the climate change we are currently facing is an extreme heating of the planet's overall climate at a very high rate, and this is nothing like we've ever seen before in the history of the planet. What is currently happening is not normal nor natural and is the result of human activity. Now that we have a better understanding of what these definitions are and what the differences between weather and climate is, I feel we're ready to begin discussing the evidence that proves the existence of climate change. In this graph provided by the NASA community, we can see the average temperature for the past 80 years. Now, if you take a look at the back of the graph, you can see some relatively low temperatures with a rising and falling pattern. I need you all to understand that these rising and falling patterns are normal and what we've been seeing over the past history of the planet. However, as we get to the 1980 points, we see a pretty steady increase in temperature, and once we hit the 1980 point, temperatures completely skyrocket. Past the 1980 point, we see temperatures rising at very high rates with little to no cool down period like seen in previous years. These temperatures are very dangerously high and never have been seen before in the history of the planet, and every year we're breaking global records in temperature highs. These temperatures are due to human-induced climate change because it breaks any heating pattern we've ever seen before, and they keep rising with absolutely no cool down period like seen in previous years. Due to the rising temperatures, our oceans are also beginning to start to warm as well. Across the globe, scientists have been getting reports that our ocean water is beginning to feel like bath water in temperature, and this is extremely problematic. The ocean marine life is not created to handle major changes in temperature, and as we're seeing an increase in climate temperature, we're seeing a decrease in marine diversity, according to United Nations Last Access 1031-23. Due to our rising sea temperatures, we are also beginning to see a major increase in our sea levels. And according to United Nations Last Access 1031-23, it is estimated that our ocean levels will reach an additional 6 feet. Now, I understand that 6 feet doesn't sound very problematic, but if our oceans rise an additional 6 feet, the majority of Florida will be completely underwater, causing damages to over 900,000 properties and leaving millions of different individuals and species homeless. Another problem that we've been seeing that helps prove the existence of climate change is the existence of salt and freshwater sources. As our sea levels have begun to rise, we've seen an increase in salt levels in freshwater sources because salt water is beginning to leak into freshwater sources. This is causing many different issues with the ecosystems because the creatures that use the fresh water as drinking sources are no longer able because they can't process the salt in their systems, and the organisms that use it as a habitat no longer can because they're not created to handle salt like this. This is promoting many high death rates amongst different species and is contributing highly to extinction rates. The final point that we've been seeing that proves the existence of climate change is a major change in the phenology of our ecosystems. Phenology is the cycle that plants and animals have that control when an animal hibernates or migrates or a plant blooms or drops its leaves. And this cycle is becoming out of sync of major patterns in the past. According to my professor, Dr. Dean, specialist in ecology and evolution, over the past century we've been seeing a major change in the blooming cycles of plants, and trees have begun to drop their leaves too soon. I know this doesn't sound very problematic, but for a plant blooming too early or a tree dropping its leaves too soon could determine if the plant lives or dies. Another problem we've been seeing in the phenology of our ecosystems, according to Dr. Dean, is how the bird migration patterns have become out of sync with their resources. Once temperatures reach a certain level, birds begin their migration journey, and due to rising temperature, many bird species have begun their migration journey too early. This throws them off their resources they need in their migration area. For example, if a bird leaves too soon, the bugs they feed on might not be fully hatched out yet, or the plants they eat might not be ready to harvest. This makes resources in these areas very little for very high populations of birds, and this is contributing highly to death rates and extinction rates across the globe. Climate change is an extremely dangerous and real event that is happening to our planet. We've already begun to see its effects from our daily temperatures to the inner workings of our ecosystems. We are past the point where we can tell ourselves comforting lies to help convince us that nothing is wrong. It is time to wake up and face this problem together. Climate change is not going to go away on its own, and it's going to take all of us working together to fix it. We don't have another planet, and we don't have a backup plan. We need to stop this before it's too late, because once we're there, there's no going back. But there's still time. We can all still make daily changes together to stop this problem, like recycling, making diet changes, and voting on environmentally safe bills within our government. It's going to take a lot of work and a lot of time, but I have faith. However, this is going to take all of us accepting the facts and changing, and possibly even admitting we were wrong. As my professor, Dr. Dean, always says, it doesn't matter if you believe in climate change, because it sure as hell believes in you. Thank you.